You're listening to Last Word Radio, where you get the last word.
Welcome to the Fourth Line Podcast, part of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB. This is October 22nd, 2018. With you today is myself, Carl, and the always wonderful Nick. You're not Joel. Welcome back.
That's an upgrade to my nickname.
Well, did I give you a nickname last time? Or you just...
I was just Nick.
Just Nick. You're filling in for Joel this week. Thank you for being on. Those who do remember, Nick is managing it over at Wings Nation, a longtime friend of the show. Thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me. I always have a blast coming on.
Yeah, and luckily the Wings managed to give you a win before you came on today.
It's nice, for sure. I was it 2 days ago. I messaged you. I was like, there's a really good chance they're not going to win it before we record on Monday. But they just barely pulled it out.
Yeah, they did, beating the Panthers.
In overtime.
In overtime, managed to make that happen. And before, which is good, because, I would find it hard to justify putting a winless team as one of our Pavel Bure must-watch games, but they won a game, so when we get to that at the end of the show, and you pick them, I won't question it. I'll question it a little bit.
Well, at least I won't be the only one who has to suffer through that one.
That's fair. I did watch a Red Wings game in preparation for this. I watched Tampa, which was a shockingly close game.
Yeah, that was one of the better ones.
Yeah. So let's start with the Red Wings. Let's start with where they're at this year. We didn't really expect them to be fantastic. I don't know if you thought that it would take them this long to get a win, though. Did you?
No, definitely not. They've had some challenges earlier on, but just in general, nobody expected them to be good at all this year. Like even some of the models out there, I think Dom Lishidson from The Athletic had them dead last this year. And Manny from Corsica had them like fourth last. So no one expected them to be good, but I don't think anyone expected the whatever it was 7-game losing streak to start the year and the minus 16 goal differential to start the year either.
Yeah, definitely a rough start. Obviously there's been some injuries on the back end. A lot of defensemen you kind of thought you could rely on. When are some of them coming back? Who's missing? Who's coming back?
They're starting to come back. You say some defensemen, it was like all of them. When we were talking in the offseason, we're like, maybe one of the young guys will be able to crack this roster, and 4 of them did. So, and then since the start of the season, it's kind of been a rotating door. Nick Cronwall, who missed the first few games, is back in the lineup. Jonathan Ericsson's now back in the lineup. Trevor Daley, who played in the first game, is now back in the lineup. And Danny DeKeyser is out again. And Mike Green is still out. He's got some sort of viral infection.
And that's not something that you want to take lightly. So was there anyone of those who filled in that impressed you? I know Joe Hickett's got a lot of attention, just because kind of, from what I understand, he's kind of the biggest prospect of that bunch, with the kind of the highest ceiling. But was there any that you were kind of impressed by?
Yeah, Joe Higgins it's funny that you call him the biggest prospect because he's the smallest person. He's a super short defenseman who went undrafted, but everyone keeps saying he's got so much heart, and that's what's carried him this far. And he's been pretty good. He's been the one who I think was the closest to cracking the lineup the last couple of years, and he got a few games in last year too. But I think the most impressive one so far has been Dennis Cholowski, who was, if I remember correctly, the 20th overall pick in the 2016 entry draft. He was kind of a small guy at the time that he was drafted. He had a rough season last year in the WHL. He came ready for training camp this year. He made the team, and he's been one of the standout players so far.
Yeah, and one guy that I was paying a little bit more attention to was another guy from WHL, Michael Rasmussen, because he was your first round pick last year, and getting a chance with the team to start off this season. I was medium impressed. I saw the potential for him to be something. I kind of compared him. I know they don't play the same position. He plays center. But kind of a Mikko Rantanen type start to his career. Rantanen was a guy who I was always wanting him to use his size better. It was like, you're a big guy, use your size. You're not really doing that. And that's kind of a lot of what I've seen from Rasmussen so far.
Yeah, Rasmussen is a very polarizing pick in Red Wings land. He is the first top 10 pick the Wings made since 1991. So there's a lot of hype on him and what he probably should do for the franchise. And when he was drafted, the Wings preached his character and his size and his toughness, which isn't something you really look for in today's game. But he's also a victim of the CHL, NHL 19-year-old rule. So he's either playing in the NHL or he's back in the WHL, and he's too good for the WHL. He's had a bit of a rough start to the year. I think it's something that he's probably he needs some adjustment to the speed of the game, to the size of the game, and how tough the players are. I don't know. He'll get there. We'll get a lot more out of him, but he's not a franchise cornerstone.
Do you think he'll get to be a franchise cornerstone, or
no?
Kind of no.
No. I don't think that's going to be his role in this rebuild.
So, what do you see him like? Peak Michael Rasmussen. What is your hopes for him?
I think his ceiling is probably second line centerman. Absolute best we're going to get out of him. Power play specialist. He'll make a great net front guy, which is something they're trying to get out of him right now. That's taken some time. They'll get there. I kind of figured he was going to struggle to start the year. He's 19 years old. He's never played pro before, so he'll get there.
Well, and going back the comparison to Rantanen, similar size. Rantanen spent at least a season, a little bit more in the A before he made it up, and struggled a little bit his first year, and looks a lot better because he has Nathan McKinnon as a centerman.
Sure.
So when you're putting someone, not surrounding him with as talented of a cast, that's going to happen, right? Until you have someone, a fuller roster, more developed roster, there's no doubt that Detroit's using him as that centerpiece moving forward. For, whether it be the second line, or the first line, wherever they are hoping he ends up, he's kind of that, one of those pieces they're building around.
He's definitely one of the bigger pieces that they're building around, for sure. And you put someone like Filip Zadina on his wing, this guy's going to rack up assists probably. So, yeah, I think there's definitely a future for him. I think he's going to be a better player than a lot of people are expecting him to be.
Yeah, well, and when they got drafted him, I was like, yeah, he seems like a good player. Seeing him in the dub, was impressed with what he's done. And I agree. It would be hard to send him back just because he's to a degree done all that he can do. Do you see any changes, anything that you kind of expect from here with the Red Wings, or kind of just what they have, trying to get guys back to the lineup and just play out the course as you go through the season?
I think the veteran defensemen are going to help when they come back. As much as I think it was a bit of a wake-up call for the fan base, because everyone complained so much about how old our blue line is. And then when you take out all that experience, how poorly the team performed. So now everyone can't wait for the vets to come back. But I think adding more of that experience on the blue line is going to help. I think the goalies have been unnaturally bad. I think they'll level out a bit too. The team has one of the worst save percentages in the league, maybe the worst, I can remember. But I think it'll even out a bit. We'll see.
And when you have Jonathan Bernier, former Colorado Avalanche Jonathan Bernier, paired with Jimmy Howard, I'm not surprised to hear that goaltending is a struggle.
Yeah. It's been tough to start to the season, but both of the guys have average career save percentage is around 915, and they're both performing below 900, which is not normal, but they've also had worse than normal D support as the rookies try and just figure out the game at the NHL level. Like Boston just dummied Detroit's defense. Almost all of their goals scored were on odd man rushes.
That was the first Red Wings game. I have managed to watch 2 Red Wings games this year. One of them was that Boston game, and I turned that one off very quickly. That was what? It ended up 8 goals that game, I believe.
Yeah.
And so I was shocked because I turned it off and saw that final score. Was, whoo, hello. And then obviously the Tampa game, which was much better this week.
Yeah. The Boston one was fun because it ended up being like a midday game on a Saturday, and I think everyone was just like, yeah, I have way better things to do with my life.
Exactly, yeah.
Watch this.
Yeah, there's a paper to be written somewhere for me.
Yeah.
Decided to do that instead. Well, we'll touch a little bit more on some Red Wings topics as we get into the show. Before we continue on, let's remind everyone about our newest sponsor at the Alberta Podcast Network, Park Power. Park Power is a local option. So if you want to shop local in Alberta, you get to choose who you buy your energy from. I don't know if that's the same out in Ontario where you are, Nick, but that's the case here in Alberta. And if you choose Park Power, your money stays in Alberta. Plus, Park Power shares its profits with local not-for-profits that are working to make a difference in your community. So if you are a fan of local investment and making sure that local nonprofits are having a piece, you head over to parkpower.ca and you can find out all about what they are doing and how you can switch. Because I like to give my money to people who are going to put it back. I don't want to just give it to some big company. It's a good thing.
Totally agree. Parkpowerplant.ca.
Parkpower.ca.
Parkpower.ca.
There you go. There's Nick's on it. Let's go to something that happened last night. Something that was near and dear to my heart. Mr. Paul Kariya had his jersey retired by the Anaheim Ducks. And obviously, I think it was about time. He's inducted into the Hall of Fame. He is now in the rafters, joining Teemu Selanne up there. And I think as Anaheim Ducks, he didn't spend his entire career there, but that is certainly where he is known as an Anaheim Duck. Where does Paul fit for you? What are your memories? Because for me, he was, the player of choice for me that was not a member of the Avalanche. He was kind of that guy that I loved how he played. I loved his speed. I loved his skill. And to see him honored, it wasn't as it was a shockingly emotional when Milan Hajduk had his number retired by the Avalanche last year, but it brought back some feels with Kariya being retired last night.
Yeah, Paul Kariya has always been the face of the Mighty Ducks for me. And that's because he was the first player they picked ever, right? But I think the other thing about Kariya too that it's not really mentioned too much, that we as Canadians probably know him a little better too because of his Olympic stunts with Team Canada in 98, and I think he played for them in 2002 at the Olympics.
I know for sure 98, yeah.
Yeah. So we got to see a little more of him on an international scale too.
Yeah. Well, and I think if you look back on his career, I actually find it a little surprising because I look at his career as like one that ended too soon. But he managed to play 15 seasons in the NHL. And by the end of it, obviously he had his concussion problems in the middle, thanks to Mr. Scott Stevens. But managed to get over them and then, had near the end of his career, 3 seasons in a row where he played every single game. So Paul Kariya managed to put that together and even still at the end, putting up, 30 goals, 24 goals for the Predators those couple seasons, before finish with the Blues. So, Paul Kariya is a guy that overcame, those injuries and really could have been the poster boy for concussions, after what he went through with the Ducks.
Yeah, but he didn't want to be, right? And he still doesn't want to be. And you can kind of tell now by how he's come back to the game. Go ahead.
No, you're right. He really disappeared until getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. He was nowhere to be seen in the hockey community, and we'll see if that stays with him. Jersey retired, Hall of Fame. There's no real accolades for him. If he wants to disappear again, he most certainly can, and I would not be surprised if that was the case. Yeah,
I almost wonder how all this came about, because he was gone for so long, and he was in touch with the hockey community. Like, he's still good friends with Teemu Selanne and I think it was Scott Niedermayer who played for the Ducks. So I wonder, like, if Anaheim wanted to retire his jersey sooner and they reached out to him and he was like, look, I'm just not ready to come back to the game. And then the Hall of Fame induction happened and he started to come back into the circles and got a little more comfortable with it. I don't know. But there's no doubt that the concussion thing really had an effect on him.
Oh, absolutely. And you mentioned the fact that he was inducted into the Hall and then had his jersey retired, which I feel like opposite of a lot of people, right? Because normally a team's going to honor you and a team's going to acknowledge what you've done with your career before the Hall does, because the standards are a little bit different. And so certainly, I don't think there's any question that he deserved to have his jersey retired with the Ducks.
None whatsoever.
If anyone's going to. But this brings me to the thought of a recently retired individual with your Detroit Red Wings, Henrik Zetterberg.
Oh, yeah.
And it, certainly not, injuries ended his career early, but not a true comparison. But people started talking about, should he be in the Hall? Should his jersey be retired? So let's ask our Red Wings expert, Nick, should his jersey be retired? Should he be in the Hall?
Yes and yes. His jersey will be retired. Ken Holland pretty much said it last season when he was giving an interview about Zetterberg. 40 will be hanging in the rafters one day. I think they're probably going to wait until the contract is over and it can be official that he's quote-unquote retired instead of being put on the long-term injured reserve. So I think we're still a few ways.
It would be very awkward retiring Arizona Coyote Henrik Zetterberg's jersey. That would be very, very awkward to try to figure that out. So,
you know what? The cap situation is being alleviated a bit the next few years. I don't think that's a contract they're going to have to trade. Not like Pavel Datsyuk.
There you go. Yeah. So what do you feel like? Because for a team like the Red Wings, it puts into a different situation, and not to besmirch the Ducks. They're celebrating their 25th anniversary this year, a much shorter history. And when you're having guys who have a long career, less of them, right? There's less people. The Detroit Red Wings have been around for, years, decades, right? One of the original six, as some would choose to say. Yeah. And you would know better than me how many numbers are actually retired in, Little Caesars Arena. But what for a franchise that's so historic, do you have to be more selective with who you're retiring?
I mean, you don't have to. But the thing about jersey retirement is, every team does it differently and has different standards, right? Just last season or 2 seasons ago, the Leafs decided to retire 13 numbers that were previously honored numbers and not retired and taken out of circulation numbers. So every team does it differently. Detroit is very particular about whose numbers they retire. And this actually this debate flared up again in Red Wings land a few weeks ago when they announced that they were going to retire Red Kelly's number 4. And Red Kelly was a huge part of Detroit's 1950s dynasty team. He was their cornerstone defenseman, played with Gordie Howe, Ted Lindsay. And he did serve as captain for a few seasons, I think. And as far as I know, the only numbers Detroit has retired have been players who have served as captain. So they announced Red Kelly's number retirement, and that flared up this whole argument because people are still calling for Sergei Fedorov's number 91 to be retired. And the ownership team is not ready to do that yet because of how Fedorov left the organization in the early 2000s.
Right.
So it's a big debate about who should and shouldn't be retired. The bottom line is it's up to the team, ownership, management to make their call. Detroit has very high standards. They're a team that thinks very highly of loyal individuals who, pretty much dedicate their careers to the organization. And for the most part, those are all the players who have their jerseys retired.
Right, exactly. So the Red Wings pulling it up with Red Kelly. I believe they're sitting at 8 numbers retired.
Yeah.
And so, that doesn't hinder it. If you start to look at some of the other long-term teams, Montreal is sitting 15 numbers.
Yeah.
Which, that starts to get, but there's a large number of people who are deserving of that. But then you go to a team like Calgary, and they don't retire anyone's number. They've got
Right.
2 numbers retired, Lanny McDonald and Mike Vernon, and they do like the Ring of Honor kind of
Right.
thing, similar to, you mentioned Toronto did a thing like that. And in all honesty, like, just retire them, because there will be so much outrage. You know, if someone were to come into Calgary, you know, he's only been retired for officially retired for less than a year, but no one's coming into Calgary and putting on Jerome McGinley's number 12 jersey.
Right.
Right? Like, you say like, hey, you know, you should probably like go with 21, use that number, or something else, right? So when it comes to that, like, just retire them, because you're not going to allow someone to come into the team and use that number unless it's like the superstar of superstars, and they, you know, even then they'll probably talk to the guy if he's still with us,
Yeah.
and ask, and the guy will probably say yes, because who's going to stand in the way?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's just a very arbitrary thing that is up to just the team's ownership and management team. You know, like, I don't know. And it means a lot, I think, to fans. I think to the players, especially now, like, I don't know, a lot of players don't grow up fans of the organization that they're playing for. They probably don't know much about the history or some of the players who are important to that specific organization. So it probably, I don't know, to them it wouldn't be a big deal for them to wear a certain number. Whereas to the fan base, it would be a much bigger deal.
Yeah, for sure. It's important for the player being retired. It's important for the fans.
Yeah.
But for sure, as long as, you know, the only guy with the Avalanche last year who would have cared about Duke's number being retired got shipped off to Ottawa halfway through the season.
Right.
You know, a lot of those guys, yeah. It's a cool experience. It's cool to have those guys come back, especially when they start to bring, you know, for the Ducks of today, to have Timu back, to have, you know, it's not like he's not around the team, to have Paul back. It's just a cool experience, but I agree. I'm in favor of more numbers being retired. Just because, you know, if you're not going to use it anyways, you might as well just retire it.
Yeah.
And if a number is willing to be used again, then go for it. Who really cares?
I agree. If the number's not in circulation, you might as well honor the person who you've taken it out of circulation for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's continue on to a topic that came up this week from the Nashville Predators, and talking about, you know, things being for the fans and being for kind of the organization. The Nashville Predators came through Alberta and won both of their games. Nashville is currently first in the league, just a little bit ahead of a very special team called the Colorado Avalanche. They're 2 points up on them.
Oh my God.
We'll see.
I haven't looked at the standings that closely. I didn't realize Colorado was second.
Yeah, it's a very important fact, Nick.
Wow. I'm always looking at the bottom of the list.
Oh, okay.
So,
just to make sure no one's passed you in the race for Jack.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, good news for you. The Avalanche, knock on wood, won't be doing that this season because they're right at the top, tied with Joel's Leafs.
Yeah.
I'm sure living in Toronto, you've heard the Leafs are at the top, even though they've lost 2 in a row and the sky is falling.
Oh, I have heard. I've heard that Austin Matthews is better than Gretzky. I've heard that Morgan Riley is better than Bobby Orr. And I've heard that the Maple Leafs are going to be the Stanley Cup champions.
Yeah, except for, you know, they lose 2 in a row and all of a sudden Mike Babcock should be fired.
Yeah.
Is also what happens. So, things change. Sample sizes are incredibly small to make decisions off of in Toronto. And, we all get to enjoy that.
Yes. Toronto's a fun place to live during the hockey season.
Even in the off season, you get to, I guess, there's maybe not fun to just listen to people talk about John Tavares all summer.
Oh, it didn't stop this year.
No.
It didn't stop. It's stopping now that William Nylander still hasn't signed. Suddenly,
that's nice.
You'd never know that Tavares was a Leaf now.
Yeah. Who?
Yeah.
I'm, personally, the Avalanche playing the Flyers right now, and Kyle Dubas at this game, not with anyone's agent. So, you know, the questions arise.
Huh.
What will the Avalanche be including with Patrick Nemeth in the William Nylander trade? That's the real question at hand here. But I guess we'll find out soon.
Yeah, we'll leave that. We'll keep an eye on Bob McKenzie's Twitter feed for that one.
Yeah, there you go. What were we even talking about here? Oh, right, the Predators. The Predators.
Yes.
They're first. They came through Alberta. They won both of their games in Calgary and Edmonton. And what we didn't realize is that the players and Coach Laviolette had a bet. in which he would have to do post-game interview in a bull mask. Which, in this audio medium, we're gonna not try to describe what a bull mask looks like, but you can imagine. It's like a horse mask, but a black bull mask. He looked quite dashing. It actually fit him. Coach Laviolette, he kind of has that like hunch anyways, like a big bull with that back. So he wore it perfectly. It looked almost real. Managed to do that. The players made it out for the interviews. It was a lot of fun. Yeah,
I think it was fun. I mean, it's a little weird of all the bets you can make with your coach. Who's the one guy who's like, guys, I got it. A bull mask on TV. You know what I mean? Like, hey, why don't you take us out and buy us a nice steak dinner? No, I want him to wear
no practice.
Mask. No practice. Yeah, no morning skate.
Yeah.
No, bull mask on TV. But
we'll take double time on practice for that.
Yeah.
We're running suicides if you wear that bull mask.
But I think it's fun, and I think it shows that Laviolette's got a pretty good relationship with the players on the team, and the locker room's in a good spot, and the coaches are in a good spot with them, and I think it's fun. We need more stuff like that.
Well, that's what you start to see, a few years back, there was a lot of hype given to players that would try to do something fun. And you're starting to see more of that, right? You're seeing, the Hurricanes with their post-win celebrations at home, which, some people called, disrespectful. I loved it. Like, I love the fact that you're having some fun with your team, having some fun with the fans, giving them something to cheer for. I am all for that. I could care less about, I don't want to say I don't care about respecting the other team and having respect for people, but there is nothing disrespectful about celebrating a win at home.
No, it's absolutely not.
Yeah.
I think things are moving more in that direction too. It is entertainment at the end of the day too. It's competition in sport, but people are entertained by the games as well, and the players have personalities and they should show them.
Yeah. So I think if we continue this trend, what animal mask do you most likely see Jeff Blashill wearing at some point this year? Like if the Red Wings were to make a bet with him, what animal best represents Jeff Blashill?
Oh boy, that's an interesting question. What animal best represents Jeff Blashill? I don't know. I'd maybe go. It's Michigan, so like maybe a fish head. There's a lot of fishing in the area.
There you go. Yeah, it's
deer maybe for hunting.
And I like that. I like that you didn't go with like a fish mask, but just the head, like just to be fully representative of where he stands with this organization. Just like lop off the head. That's Jeff Blashill. Just
the head.
Just a head. That's all he is.
Yeah. Just the fish head. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think Detroit's in that having that much fun to get into something like that.
How many games in a row do you think that the Detroit Red Wings would have to win for him to pull some kind of bet like that?
I think any number of wins that any string of wins they can put together would help towards something like that.
Jeff Blashill with the fish mask.
2, 3, whatever.
Yeah, if they win tonight, he should wear that fish mask. I'm not thinking like personality wise, but trying to think of what Jared Bednar looks like. He looks remarkably like a meerkat. So I would go with I know that could be a little on the nose, but if Jared Bednar wants to wear a meerkat mask, which again, I don't know how you would explicitly do that, but it might be a little hard to identify, but a meerkat for Jared Bednar.
That would be pretty hard to identify. I'm trying to imagine what that would be like for me to be like, yes, meerkat.
Right, yeah. Are you a cat? Are you a weasel? What are you right now? But that's good. And, it's Halloween. We're starting to see players come out with their costumes. Is there a favorite Halloween costume that you've seen from some of these players coming out so far? A lot of teams having some parties?
Yeah, I've only seen a few so far, but I think Connor McDavid's Homer Simpson has been pretty good. A lot of time went into that one.
Yeah, him and his lady friend there. I assume it's his lady friend. I don't really care about their personal lives. It was him and a lady had a Homer and Marge costume. But what I found most important is the fact that, in that picture that was posted, he committed, right? He had like no hair. And I zoomed in. I was doing the old computer enhance. I was just screaming it at my computer like they do in the movies. It didn't work. I needed to know, is that a skin cap? Like, is that a cap? Did Connor McDavid shave his head for the costume? That is the true commitment that I want to see from a captain of my hockey team.
I think either way is pretty committed. They're both time commitments.
He did paint his entire body orange. Yellow.
It's all yellow.
Colors are hard. Yeah.
And then he went, like, those bald caps, it's not easy to hide hair.
Yeah, he doesn't have a non-zero amount of hair in there either, so.
Yeah. So, I don't know. These NHL players, they go all out at Halloween every year. I see these pictures every year, and they love their costumes.
I enjoy Dallas Stars, Tyler Seguin, Jamie Benn, and Alex Radulov win as Mario Kart characters. That was good. Mario, Luigi, Yoshi. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was a good one. I wonder how much thought and effort is put in by them as individuals into these costumes. Because I don't, where do they find the time to go to Walmart and assemble these perfect costumes? Yeah,
they have to have some sort of way, right? Do they just call someone up and be like, here's my dimensions, make me a Luigi suit, please. I would like to be Luigi for Halloween.
Yeah, I don't.
Do you have a costume lined up for this year? Are you a Halloween guy?
I don't. I'm not a big Halloween guy. I'm not big on costumes. I get very self-conscious. The most effort I ever put into a costume was Woody from Toy Story. It was basically just a cowboy hat and a string hanging off my back.
That's a solid choice. I should do that sometime.
I did write Andy on my boot.
Well, that's good. I like that. I should steal that. This year, we're all about the couples costumes. We try to win at the Halloween parties, and I also I'm not a huge costume Halloween guy, but it's always the goal to have the best couples costume. We've gone as Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy.
Yeah,
we've
good
done the game Operation. I dressed up in way too much flesh-colored stuff. Put the bones on me, and my wife dressed as the nurse to play the game Operation. That was disturbing.
So did she have to just throughout the night walk up to you and start picking the bones off?
Yeah, exactly. Just before they fell off.
Right.
I was just left in like this flesh-colored costume that nobody wants to see, and then I'm changing. This year, we're doing a bit of a throwback. We are going as the prom version of Ross and Rachel from Friends.
Oh,
I've got my curly hair. I've got the mustache already. That's not part of. That's just me.
Nice.
And so she's making the poofy dress so that we can match. It's gonna be good.
That's pretty good, actually. Are you gonna play the songs on the keyboard too? Was that the prom episode?
Yeah, that is the prom episode. I need to go find one. I've got the rest of my costume on lockdown. So I've got khakis, a nice purple striped shirt. I just need that little keyboard, and I'm ready. I might have to go steal a xylophone from a child if that's what it takes, but I'm going to have some sort of tiny musical instrument.
Worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What else does have in the world of hockey? Coming back from that, goaltenders are struggling right now. They're complaining, and I don't want to say complaining. They have every right to be because they're getting hurt. Apparently, according to them, and I'll take their word for it because I am not having people, even in practice, taking 90-mile-an-hour shots at me. According to them, the smaller equipment that they're being told to wear now, not as protective as it once was. And so they're saying not just their heads. A lot of goalies are having concussions, right? We just saw Corey Crawford come back from a lengthy concussion. You have goaltenders, Roberto Luongo's hurt in Florida. You've got Scott Darling about to come back in Carolina. Freddie Anderson missed some time in Toronto. Lots of goalies getting hurt. And I'm sure I've missed, Jonathan Quick, he missed some time.
Yeah.
Goalies are being hurt, and whether it be concussions or the smaller equipment. And it begs the question for me, at what point in time are we are we putting the goalies too at risk in our desire to shrink their equipment in order for the goals to go up?
Well, I don't know too much about all those injuries, but I wonder how much of it is from pucks and how much of it is from contact with other players. Because is the difference in equipment, is that going to make, collisions with other players harder on them? I guess
if the guy's coming through the crease, you mean, and then run into the goalie.
Yeah.
I would say, to me, I look at that and I say, well, if you're getting hurt running into the goalie, you're not allowed to run into the goalie. So just stop doing that. It's like this illegal thing I'm doing hurts me. I don't know, maybe good?
I think that, the league wants more goals, and I can understand why. It's an exciting brand of hockey, as we've seen the last couple of years. But, they got to look out for the players, too. I'd rather watch less goals and less people be hurt short-term and long-term than just a bunch of goals and guys having to sit out because they're concussed or have muscle tears or whatever.
Yeah, well, and certainly watching a starting goalie versus watching a backup goalie is going to be a lot more fun, right? I'd much rather watch John Gibson than Ryan Miller.
For sure.
I don't think that's that much of an issue. No. So, would you rather, if they're saying we are getting hurt, would you rather go back to the equipment we saw before? I'm not saying, all the way back to, peak J.S. Jaguar levels of equipment. But, what this last round of changes was. Would you be in favor of that if it meant, I don't know, 20% less injuries?
Yeah, I think 20% less injuries is a big number. Absolutely. For sure, I think... Go ahead.
No, I'll let you finish your thought.
I was just going to say, I think we should be trying to minimize injuries however we can. And for goalies, it's not... I don't know if, changing the penalties or the punishments for other players is going to change goalie injuries, Well,
and especially when it comes to, certainly some concussions. I think back to, I believe James Reimer got concussed in a game against the Leafs a few years back. So some of these, significant injuries are coming from player-on-player contact, but some of them are just from the way that the game is played, right? If you take a slap shot off the head, you're not trying to do that, right? You would much rather catch it with a glove than off the noggin. And certainly there's improvements that can be made and should be made. I assume and would believe that, all this concussion research and things that have gone into player safety, helmets have changed significantly in even the last 5 years. The safety in there. So, you would hope that that's the case, but I don't know if there's a way to fully protect someone from taking a 100-mile-an-hour frozen piece of rubber to the head. No,
probably not, right? And at that point, do we just accept that it's part of the risk of the game? That, you accept these risks, that you're going to have to stand in front of this and it's your choice and it could result in these injuries? I think we should always be looking for ways to protect them further, but like you said, there's only so much you can do. You're still taking rubber pucks to the head.
Yeah, and again, no one wants that, but
no.
There is something inherent, and I think that's why goalies are why they wear so much equipment, why they started to wear so much equipment. Part of it was the fact that you could get away with it and the competitive advantage, but in the same way that you've seen players, right? They've started to wear more equipment on themselves to protect themselves, and when you play faster, you hit harder. So sure, now elbow pads aren't elbow pads; they're like a full wrist to the other side of you. It's one piece that they're wearing these days. So yeah, certainly as technology improves and people are protecting themselves more, these are things that are going to happen. And I do want goalies to be better protected, but and I'm okay if it drops scoring a little bit. I would much rather be you know what, add an inch to the net on each side and let these goalies wear a little bit more equipment. I don't think that ruins the integrity of the game.
No, I don't think so. And watching goals is fun, but it's also really exciting watching a 2-1 game that's super close and back and forth, and there's big saves and tons of scoring chances. Like, I don't know, the goals are nice to watch, but I don't find that just watching like a 6-1 blowout is more fun than a 2-1 overtime game.
Well, and at the same time, if I'm watching, most of these games, whether it be if there's that amount that the goalie is stopping a puck by, that half an inch or whatever it may be, an inch that they're wearing, like how much more thrilling is it to watch a guy make like a shoulder save that's pretty close versus like a puck just going in like right under his arm?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, that's a dirty goal. Like he probably should have had that one. You're like, oh,
well, exactly. And then suddenly everyone's like, well, that goalie's getting weak. Should have, in past years he would have made that save.
Right, exactly. That's how you get to the point where you're like, well, in previous years, the Red Wings goalies had a 900 save percentage, and now they're getting sub 900. What's happening? It's the equipment, Nick. That's what it is.
Well, I mean, Howard is letting in a lot of softies these days.
Absolutely. Well, there you go. So he is, that's it. It's just the equipment. It's not his skill at all.
I'm sure it's not just the equipment.
We play a game here that you are a part of.
Yes.
We play this game called High Sticking.
Yes, I'm familiar with it.
And we are going to pick someone to win High Sticking tonight.
Excellent.
We made some changes this year. What do you, as someone who plays it, we changed away from picking game-winning goal scores to picking the winner of the game and the score. What are you an outsider? You having fun?
I actually love the change. I think it's fun. It's much quicker and easier to just go with kind of a gut feel.
Yeah, you don't need to be like, who's injured, and then like I'm texting people back like, if that guy's hurt, maybe don't pick.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you just go with it. Yeah, that's kind of what the goal was.
Yeah, it's very easy. I love it. The one thing I did like choosing the game-winning goal was it forced me to kind of look at teams' rosters. It kept me a little more up to date on who was playing on which teams. But I mean, it's much quicker for me to just pick a winner and a score now. So
there you go. Well, and the numbers say that we've had, I don't know the number of people who have played it. It's certainly bigger than this, but 35 people put in winning predictions in these 2 weeks to start the season, accumulating a total of 285 high sticking points.
Well, there you go. You can't argue with the numbers.
So people are getting the points. Big things are happening. When you have a game like, for example, probably the biggest game that we got points was the first game of the season, Toronto-Montreal. Tons of people were getting that. And the way that it works is if you pick the team that wins the game, you get 1 point for each score in the game. So if you say the Leafs are going to beat the Habs 4-1 and they beat them 4-2, you get an extra point for that. If they beat them 4-1, you get both points. So 3 points for a night. So Nick, you are coming in at 3 points. As we do this draw, that's how we do it. You get your points, and then we pick a winner, and you get some fourth line merch. So if you are the name about to be drawn, how are you feeling about your chances?
Well, if I get to pick who the winner is, I feel pretty good about my chances.
Just a little random number. I pick Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's exactly what drawing a name from a hat means.
Carl,
but
you told me before we started recording, you said you can announce yourself, Nick. I'll let you win this one.
I'll give this one's going to Nick.
That did not happen.
We'll have a bet. If the Red Wings win tonight's game, you can pick them for high sticking this week. While wearing a bull mask, you can do both of those things.
You know what? If they win tonight's game, I'll post a picture of myself in some sort of mask that I can find around my house. But it's 10 minutes into the first period and they're being outshot 11-0, so I feel pretty good about chances of not having to post a photo of myself in a mask.
Well, let's hope. I've never wanted the Red Wings to win more than I do right now. What have you done to me, Nick? Well, let's get to it. We have a random number generator waiting with bated breath to pick the winner. If you win, congratulations. You get to pick. We've got fourth line mini sticks, pucks, coasters, I know, Nick, you have won in the past. I don't know, have you won one of these pucks yet?
I don't have a puck. I have a mini stick.
There you go.
It's on display in my desk at work.
Oh, well, let's hope. I would love to get you one of these, and we've got coasters coming. So that icy cold beverage you have in your hand there, you need to protect that table underneath it.
I do.
No better way to do that with a Fourth Line podcast coaster.
Excellent.
Let us know which you want. And the winner is coming in at slot number 192, Ziv Agassi. So shout out to him. Ziv, if you let us know what you want, send us a DM, send us a tweet. Congratulations on winning this round of high sticking. And we'll be back with more. We'll start right tomorrow. So this is coming out on, this is Monday evening. So Tuesday's game, so we'll be doing that. Nick, do you want to go first for picking our must-watch games of the week? Be the games that we think you need to be tuning into.
For sure. So first of all, congratulations, Civ. I'm coming for you this week. October 23rd. What would be a good game? San Jose, Nashville?
San Jose, Nashville. Yeah, that's a good one. Nashville without Pekka Rinne. He is on the IR. I have professed my love about UC Saros very much in the past. How do you feel? Tell me if I'm crazy. I would not be surprised if Pekka Rinne doesn't get this net back. Am I crazy?
This year?
Yeah, like I love me some UC Saros.
I know you do.
His name I'm probably saying wrong.
You guys say every name wrong, so probably.
Probably, yeah. I don't know. What are your thoughts on him?
I like UC Saros a lot, and I think he's, in the past, has proven himself. I don't know if he can steal the net from Pekka Rinne, though. Rinne was a Vezina finalist last year, was he not?
That is a fact, yes.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. That's a big job to steal.
You're probably right. So we're coming up Tuesday. We've got a collection of good games. Two games that really stand out to me. Colorado at Tampa, which is obviously Colorado at the top of the standings. Tampa, a very, very good team. And also Toronto and Winnipeg, a couple of teams. Winnipeg struggling a little bit from expectations. And so it really comes down to, I'll let you pick between these two, because one of them lets Joel's team pick, even though he's not on the show, and the other one is me picking my team. Which of those games do you want to be watching?
You're making me pick between you and Joel?
Let's not. Yes, I am making you pick between me and Joel.
So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to be a good husband and pick my wife because she's a huge Toronto fan, and I know that I'm not going to have a choice, and we're going to have to watch the Leafs game on Wednesday.
Well, there you go. So you pick Joel. That's what I found out.
Toronto and Winnipeg.
All right, Toronto Winnipeg is your game on Wednesday. Thursday, any games that stand out to you on that one?
Oh, a lot of games on the schedule Thursday.
Ton of games. A lot of inter-conference games. You've got the Penguins doing a West Coast trip. You've got the Caps doing a West Coast trip.
My eyes kind of went to Washington, Edmonton. Little Ovi, McDavid.
And that's always a good chance for a lot of high sticking points, or like that upset where the Oilers win and everyone is confused. But the Oilers are better. The Oilers are better than I think a lot of people are giving them credit for right now.
Yeah, I think so too.
Good, but they're not that bad of a tire fire. So don't sleep on them with your high sticking picks. So we're coming down to it. Friday, we have two more chances. Which Detroit Red Wings game should we put on this schedule? Because you've got Detroit, Dallas on Sunday, and you've got Detroit, Winnipeg. I think we probably should go Detroit, Dallas, right? Instead of the double Winnipeg game.
Yeah.
And that's the most winnable game for Detroit.
I agree.
All right, so there you go. So on Friday, we will go with Vegas and Tampa.
Okay.
That'll be, we passed up Tampa once. We'll say, Tampa, here's your shot. Go beat Vegas. They're on the road in Vegas. See if they can beat the Vegas flu.
All right.
So Saturday, October 27th, what do we got?
Not Winnipeg, Toronto, because we already picked that one.
Yeah.
Montreal, Boston's always a good rivalry game.
We have a rule. That's...
Oh, good call.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't going to watch Boston anyways.
That's the spirit.
Who else we got here?
We've got a big schedule. Chicago St. Louis kind of catches my eye. They're Chicago with Corey Crawford back could be
true. It could be
up there.
Could be good for them.
Ugh. Not
yeah.
good for St. Louis.
Yeah, or a Colorado Minnesota. I know Minnesota's been a little underwhelming, but I think
you know what? I would not be sad to pick a game in which Colorado wins in high staking. So.
All right. Well, why don't we go that one?
All right, there you go. Colorado at Minnesota. And I wanted to pick a Monday game. And our choices are Calgary at Toronto or Minnesota at Vancouver. And it's for sure not Minnesota at Vancouver. So let's go Monday, Calgary at Toronto. So that we have a Monday game. It's always fun to just have a little extra something there. An extra chance for Nick to get his points. Since he threw down the gauntlet, an extra chance for Nick to get his points in.
I'm coming. I'm coming for all you.
Yeah, there you go. So if you want to know how you're doing, at thefourthlinepodcast.com, the standings are always up there. So you can see how many points you have compared to everyone else. You can see that Nick was slotted in with 3, and Chad was at 23 points at the top. So lots of chances to get them. Who knows how long we'll go? We'll go for a while. Big question. Does Detroit have a shot yet? Do you know if that is the case?
Do they have a shot at what?
On net.
On net.
That's happening.
They still have 0 shots on net. There's 6 minutes and 20 seconds left in the first period, and they're being outshot 14-0.
Well, tune in to Nick's Twitter at NickSagan19 to find out if the Red Wings won. Because he said he would put on
There's a shot.
He said that if they win, that he would wear some sort of mask. I don't know what collection of masks he has at hand. Or maybe he'll just paint his face. Who knows what'll happen. He could go full Connor McDavid on us. That would be, or half Connor McDavid. That'd be fine too.
But you'll never know if I shave my head or not.
It's true. Let's not mess with that flow. It's looking good. So you are welcome, Nick. The Fourth Line Podcast is part of the Alberta Podcast Network, which is proud to be sponsored by ATB. They are the official bank of the Fourth Line Podcast. And much like Park Power, if you're looking for a bank that is part of the community and supports local communities, especially hockey, ATB is the choice for you. If you go to atb.com/hockey, you will find all of the ways. And it's actually not all the ways. I said that and then immediately corrected myself because there are so many ways that they're connected that they do not even have all of them on their own website. atb.com/hockey is the place to go for that. Tune in. And if you want to be like, hey, they support my community, I want to support them, then you should switch your bank, switch your power, switch your banking, everything flipped upside down. Thanks to the Fourth Line Podcast. You are welcome. Nick is, as mentioned, as you already know, the wonderful manager over at Wings Nation. What's been happening on the docket over there? What's been published?
Oh boy, so much. Let's pull it up here and see what we got. So we cover every game. We do a pregame report and postgame report. Always check those out for the highlights. We're a lot of eyes on the prospects right now because the NHL team not doing much. So Joe Veleno is doing amazing things in the QMJHL. Vili Sariarvi scored his first AHL goal. We had a claim off the waiver wire last week. We're checking in on the Griffins season. And then Jeff Blashill started messing with the lines at practice last week. Hurt my head a little bit. There's an article up there about that too.
Awesome. Well, head on over to that. Nick and the fantastic team over there have you covered day in and day out on everything Red Wings. They are the place to be for the Red Wings. I do not go anywhere else. If I want to know what's happening, I don't go to redwings.com. You know why? Because I can find the roster of the Detroit Red Wings right on Wings Nation. I don't need that website. They have the schedule, they have the stats, fully covered. Redwings.com. Is that even the website for the Red Wings? Or is that like the shoe company?
I don't know. I don't ever go there. I only go to wingsnation.com.
Yeah, because that's all you ever need. Because it's fantastic. So head on over there. Be like Nick. And Red Wings. Don't go to redwings.com. Redwings.com is actually You go to Wings Nation. Redwings.com is actually a bird site. It has, if you want everything about birds, bird supplies, bird watching, and bird care, go to redwings.com. If you want to know about the Detroit Red Wings, go to wingsnation.com. You can find Nick on Twitter at NickSagan19. That's a smart follow. Is it The Wings Nation on Twitter?
It is The Wings Nation. At The Wings Nation.
At The Wings Nation. Nothing, presumably, about birds on either the Twitter or the website, correct?
Yeah, well, except for that one article I wrote about chicken wings in the summer.
That was a good article. Probably my fourth favorite article on wingsnation.com. Nick wrote an article about which chicken wing flavor each member of the Detroit Red Wings would be. Very, very important content coming out over there. Mm-hmm. Only the best coming from Wings Nation.
Absolutely.
If you want more about our website, you can go to thefourthlinepodcast.com and you can find out where to subscribe to the show. You can find out standings on high sticking. And we also have articles as well. We have Mike and the whole crew over there who's apparently at this point in time, names are slipping my mind, Alex and Kevin and those are the ones that man, memories are hard. Mike wrote an article based off of last week's episode. I mentioned Craig Billington, which Joel said wasn't real, and Mike wrote an article about that. Alex looked at the trophy Calder Trophy candidates, and Ben likes to do his Sabres pregame. So much like you have over at the Wings, we've got some Sabres content over at the fourthlinepodcast.com.
And always great content over there.
We do what we can.
You know, Carl, if you go to fourthlinepodcast.com and search Lemieux, you'll find an article from yours truly on there from the last time, or 2 times ago, when you and I had a bet on the Wings-Avs game.
It's true, yeah. So Nick has graced that quite well. He did an honorable job, and we were quite thankful to have his content on the website. So
always good content over there, so go check it out.
Well, thanks, Nick. And thank you for being back on the show. This will most certainly not be the last time, unless I can't think of a reason. I think it's in your court if this is the last time, because we will most certainly have you back.
I think it's more in the listener's court. We'll see what kind of cut this week.
That's fair. I can't think of anything egregious. But hey, we'll find out. Most of them have probably stopped listening at this point, so we can really say whatever we want.
That's true.
If there's anything edgy that you wish to get off your chest, now is the time.
I do have to say, though, I listen to the very end of every episode because I know this is when you guys drop your truth bombs.
This is when things get off the rails, and quite arguably the best moments are always at the end of the show. So if you've turned it off already, mistakes have been made. Who knows what can happen after we say that. The odd time, you know it's real good when Boom City happens, and then we keep going. But you can find us on Twitter at Fourth Line Podcast, Facebook.com/The Fourth Line Podcast, and everywhere that you find podcasts. If you want to give us a review, if you've listened this far, you're obviously a devoted listener. Thank you for listening, and we would appreciate a review on iTunes or wherever you listen to shows. Give us the old 5-star, unless you don't think we deserve it. But let's be honest, Nick thinks we do.
Absolutely. I give the 5-star rating every time I'm on the show.
Best episode ever. More Nick. Well, thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Nick, again. And we will be back next week. And you see, Joel might be back.
We'll see. Boom City.